Good evening. I call to order this regular joint meeting of Minnehaha County and Sioux Falls Planning Commission, and I will begin with a few introductory comments. My name is Bonnie Duffy. I'm the chair for Minnehaha County, and Larry Lutke is for the Planning Commission for Sioux Falls. As a courtesy to everyone here tonight, please make sure that all your cell phones are turned off. Please note that tonight's Planning Commission meeting will be rebroadcast via CityLink and posted on the www.minnehahacounty.org site for viewing by the general public. The two planning commissions work together on land use and zoning matters within the rural area surrounding the Sioux Falls. This area is displayed on the screen. When this joint hearing is completed, the joint Sioux Falls and County Planning Commission will adjourn, and the next regular business meeting will begin to consider items beyond the joint zoning jurisdiction with Sioux Falls. Any final action taking on the conditional use permit applications tonight will take effect 5 working days following this meeting unless a written appeal of the Planning Commission's decision is filed in the planning office by Monday, March 4th at 5 p.m. In the event of an appeal, the decision will be referred to the County Commission and City Council for a joint hearing on Tuesday, March 26th at or after 5 p.m. That meeting is held in Carnegie Town Hall at 235 West 10th Street. An action taken on the final development plan will be final. First on the agenda is public input. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on an item that is not on the agenda? At this time, the Planning Commission will consider the consent agenda. Any items on the consent agenda are perceived to be non-controversial and meet all of the requirements of the codes and regulations. The consent agenda will be acted on in one motion with no public hearing on the items unless a member of the public, the commission, or staff requests the item be removed from the consent agenda. The minutes from the January 28th, 2019 minutes are on the agenda. Does any Planning Commission member wish to have an item removed for discussion? Next, I will read each item on the consent agenda and ask if there are any items or comments from the staff or the audience. If any member or staff or the audience would like to be heard on the item, please raise your hand. Then they will be moved to the regular agenda to allow you to address the commission later in the meeting. Any other items remaining on the consent agenda will be approved by the Planning Commissions with the conditions recommended by staff. Item number 1 was the approval of the minutes of January 28th, 2019. Item number 2 is conditional use permit 19-10 to exceed 2,400 square feet of total accessory building area, requesting 7,536 square feet on the property legally described as Edblom Track 1, Southwest Quarter, Northeast Quarter, Section 30, Township 102 North, Range 49 West. Petitioner is Morton Buildings. Ron Shetter, the property owner, is Al Schmidt. Location is 5800 North Kiwanis Avenue. That's approximately about half a mile north of Sioux Falls. Item number 3, conditional use permit 19-11 to exceed 3,600 square feet of total accessory building area, requesting 6,880 square feet on the property legally described as Track 1, Michael's Addition, Southeast Quarter, Section 28, Township 101 North, Range 48 West. Petitioner is Eric Willitson. Property owner is Clark Meyer. Location is 26695 481st Avenue. That's located approximately 2 miles east of Sioux Falls. Item number 4 is the final development plan, 19-01. Petitioners are Myron Olson and Jason Shanks. Property owner is Myron Olson. Location is 7701 West Maple Street. That is located 1.5 miles west of Sioux Falls. Okay, since there's no discussion on, okay. Sir?
I'm sorry, are we supposed to raise our hand now?
Yes, which item were you? Number 2? Okay, so we remove item number 2 to the regular agenda. That means that we will vote on item number 1, number 3, and number 4.
They said number 2, didn't they? Did they say number 2?
Yeah, number 2.
Oh, okay, approval of those items.
Yes, approval of 1, 3, and 4.
That's my motion. Second.
Okay, a motion made and seconded to approve the consent items number 1, number 3, and number 4. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes on the county side.
City said?
Motion for approval of consent agenda items number 1, 3, and 4.
So we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign? Passes on the city side.
Thank you. So those items that were approved, you are free to go. Item number 2, David?
Good evening, Planning Commission, David Heinold, County Planning Department. Item number 2 is conditional use permit 19-10. This is to exceed 2,400 square feet. The petitioner is requesting 7,536 square feet. The property itself is located just on North Kiwanis Avenue, just south of Interstate I-90 there. As you can see, the property is outlined in red. The property consists of about 1.86 acres. As you can see, the driveway to the property right here is right off Kiwanis, and then the house is located right there. The petitioner, I'll skip forward to the site plan. The building itself is a 60-foot by 120-foot building, which would encompass that entire total accessory building square footage area. The applicant does have an existing building right next to that, would be located right next to the proposed 60 by 120. The house is there, and then the driveway is here. Double driveway there. The just some of the buildings that are in the area that I've analyzed. The property owner that is directly adjacent to this property is 2410 West 68th Street, which is 68th Street right here. Kind of continues on. There's looks like two separate driveways there. But the building, the total accessory building area on that property is 7,160 square feet. And that property is about twice the size at 3.588 acres. Just some of the other buildings in the area. I'll move forward to the next map. This is kind of areas north of Interstate 90 and south of that as well. Kind of the range. The next highest is 4,704 square feet, and then and that's on a much larger parcel of land, which includes this white building right here where the cursor is. That's north of the interstate. And it goes down to sizes as low as 1,120 square feet on the property that's just adjacent to that one as well. The staff inspected the property on February 13th, and I went out and got some aerial photos of this where the building would be located. Fortunately, I was able to get into the driveway with the snow, but and so this is where the building would be located. You can see the existing buildings right there, and then the house. There's a row of trees there. And this is looking at it from the south. And then this is the reverse image. As you can see, this is looking towards the south. That building area, as you can see, both houses. This is the neighbor's house to the east, and then the applicant's house there. Switching gears, this is the applicant's house. This is looking at it from Kiwanis Avenue from the northwest. You can see that existing building there. The right-of-way line's about roughly right here where the snow stops there, that edge. This is the neighbors, or the property to the immediate east, the building that is located on the adjacent property. You can see in the background. And this is just a full-out zoomed view of some of the evergreens that are located in the foreground there, and then the building would be located behind that backyard. This is looking from the southwest of the property. Again, the house there. You can see this is a utility line that runs along Kiwanis Avenue. And this is the same view. As you can see, this would be a view where the building would be, where the cursor is. This is from Kiwanis Avenue. This is the adjacent building to the east on that property. And then this is another accessory building of the neighboring property as well, because there's a couple buildings there that make up that total size. So those are the things that I went through. There is a, let me go back to this. As you can see here, and it's come to my attention that there is a utility line that runs through the property, which is one of the concerns that was brought forth by the neighboring property owner, which is roughly like in this area, which the building would take up a large portion of that backyard area, but still falls within the requirement for the zoning ordinance as far as how much land he can take up for an accessory building. So that's one of the concerns that was brought forth, and I just wanted to bring that to your attention. The petitioner has not included any other need for any other utilities. The building can only be used for personal residential storage, so there wouldn't be any commercial business or storage that would be allowed in a building of this size. And then if there was any lighting on the building, you'd make sure and need to keep that so it's not shining onto the neighboring property owner. Had to be pointing down. So staff finds that the requested total accessory building area is relatively comparable to the existing accessory building sizes on similar properties in the surrounding area. Staff included a comment letter from the City of Sioux Falls Planning Department, which you have for your review. So staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit 19-10 with 5 conditions on the permit. One thing I forgot to mention was that since the building is 60 by 120, we do have a condition in there that is required for building inspection review because the building is 60 feet or wider. So with that, I would answer any questions if you have them. I can read the conditions also if you want me to.
Madam
Hey,
Chair,
Jeff?
what kind of utility is it crossing the property there?
Looks like an overhead power line
Okay.
to the adjacent property owner.
And are some of the other accessory buildings going away, and then this new building will be?
There is a small shed on the property that's kind of right next to this one. It's really small, you can hardly see it, which would be right on where the building would be.
So it's gonna.
So it'd have to be moved.
Okay, so the total accessory building would be just 7536, right?
So that's the total size is 7,500.
Thanks.
Any other questions for David? Is the petitioner here? Will you please come forward and state your name and address in case anybody has any questions for you?
Ron Cheddar. I'm with Morton Buildings. I'm the builder. The owner, unfortunately, is in Arizona.
Why is that unfortunate?
If there's a problem, it'd be nice to have him here, I suppose.
Any questions for him?
I do want to correct one little deal. The owner is petitioning the little building stay if possible. If not, they're okay with removing it. If that makes any difference. I believe we added it into the size. So that the square footage of the existing building, which is 14 by 26. It should be added into the square footage. Yes. It's 72, what's the total square footage? Sorry. Yes, it's 7,200 square feet is the building right now. The additional square feet is for that existing building that is
Okay.
already situated.
Do you guys have a plan for the power line at all?
Not yet, but I'm sure we'd be happy to move it if that's required.
Okay. Sure, Mike, go ahead.
Power company will dictate based on the line voltage if that has to be moved or not, so. It may
Yes.
be required to move some, it may not be, but power company should be able to help you out with that.
Most likely, we'll have to move it. It'll touch the building, most likely, but that's not a problem.
Okay, any other questions for him? Thank you.
Thanks.
Sir, you want to come forward? You were the one that raised your hand, that speak on this item. Please state your name and address.
My name is Jeff Johnson. I'm the joining neighbor there. My address is 2410 West 68th Street North, Sioux Falls. And my property is adjoined to this property right here that we're talking about here. So I'm the house that's to the east, okay? So the neighbors are to the west, I'm to the east, and we have a fence that divides our properties, okay? The fence line runs north and south. The fence line is approximately 200 feet from the interstate fence line to the driveway. So they're proposing, this, I'm a little caught off guard, a little nervous here. I'm gonna try to explain this, but they wanna propose a 60 by 120 foot building along my fence line there, which just about takes up most of my fence line there. So, everything going to the west is gonna be just a building now, a 60 by 120 building. I have no idea how tall it is. This is the first I've seen anything like this. A few concerns I do have. You're putting a building up. I have a building on my place that's 5,000 square feet. It's 50 by 100. It's way set back on the way east side of my property with its own little driveway going into it. This one here is gonna take up this whole backyard of this property, their property. I'm assuming it's gonna be somewhere around 25 to 26 feet. I don't know. My concern is rain runoff. Okay, we have a flat, our soil is flat, our land is kind of flat, everything kind of slopes south, everything drains south. But our soil is very spongy. It's not clay, it's loamy. My concern, I have a couple, but one is the rain runoff coming off of this building. Is it gonna be guttered? Where is it gonna be guttered to? Because if it runs south, it's gotta run south and west, otherwise it'll run right into my property. Right now, everything just kind of flows, it's all natural, and we have no problems. I know this building will have to be built up. They can't dig down and build it down, I know it's coming up, okay? Which means it's gonna come my way. Just a concern I had. One of the other, and once again, I don't know all my rights. This is the first time I've ever stood up here and had to do anything like this. I was caught way off guard. So my other concern is the building, okay? 120 feet long, my fence line runs like this. 10 feet back, is that about what they said they're gonna do on that setback from my fence line? Is that where they wanted to start this? I don't know. But between that building and the 10 feet to my fence line, 120 feet long, what a perfect place to store junk and cause me an eyesore. Just a thought, I don't know that. Or is it gonna get taken care of? I mean, you're blocking all the sun. Nothing is gonna be able to grow right there. We're gonna be looking at weeds and thistles, or we're gonna be looking at tires. I don't know what they have planned in this building. Nobody has talked to me about it. I have never met my neighbors. I've lived in my place for 26 years. I've never met the person that owns that house. I used to be good friends with Louise Edblom. She is the one that used to own it. She died of old age. She owned all this property and subdivided it. Okay, so those are some of my concerns that I have, is the water issue. I can't even sit in my yard now and look at Kiwanis Avenue. It's just gonna take everything away from me. Whether I have the rights to, they can go smaller with something or whatever, but I mean, they're taking the whole concept of me living out in the country and enjoying the view away. And I just wanted to voice my opinion on that. Is there any other questions or anything I can say or to help or?
We'll get the petitioner back up here. Maybe he can address some of your questions.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Can you give him some idea of some of the questions he had about the runoff or,
Well,
I don't,
the building is guttered. We do have that planned. As far as the runoff, it's obviously if we gutter it, we run it to the south and we make sure it drains south, it should be fine. I don't see what the issue is, but, obviously the view, I'm sure it does affect it to some degree, but so does his building. But at the same time, if we reduce the size, let's say, which they'd probably be willing to do if it made any difference, but if it was a 48 by 64, would it really change his view any as far as what he has now? It really wouldn't, because it's too low. Regardless of what we would stick back there, it would kind of obstruct the view to Kiwanis Avenue. So I guess from our point of view, reducing the size wouldn't really matter.
okay.
But if it was necessary, I just don't know what it would fix. Because of where it's sitting, we'll tuck it back as far as we can under the property, so it's out of the way as much as we can.
We have another question up here at the table.
Yes, I don't know if you can answer it or the staff would need to. How will the setback be determined on the building, and is it being located where it is because of the desire to save the small ancillary buildings? So if that was removed, the new building could be moved over further west?
Sure. It would make a difference if we removed that little building, which they are okay with doing that if it's required. It's just too nice a building to throw away if we don't have to.
Okay,
If
what-
you wanted to increase the setback a little bit to 15 feet or something.
Mhm.
Madam
Okay,
Chair,
thank you.
to John's point,
Yeah.
I think though, is it could be relocated, right? Even if it was to be moved over?
Yeah, if the small building isn't there, it seems like there's some options for location that could mitigate the concerns in terms of being further away to begin with and how it's situated on the lot.
He, as far as addressing his issue, what he wants to do with this, it is solely for inside parking, for toys, his camper, that kind of stuff. There'll be very little traffic at this, as there is now at the property, there's very little traffic. This will continue. There's no intention of being inside this for working or anything like that. So it seems to me the only thing we would gain by moving over would be drainage, which we're doing gutters, and we can drain tile it out to the south if that's necessary. But if it makes a difference, we can give the property owner an additional 15 feet or setback 15 feet instead of 10. But that doesn't address the main issue, which would be the view either way.
Any other questions for him?
And it looks like you are proposing a 10-foot setback on that east side now?
Yes,
Okay.
ideally.
I think the setback for the side is 7, isn't it? 3 feet, 7 for a residence, 3 for the accessory building.
Okay, any other questions for him? Thank
And there'll
you.
be no stuff located next to the building, if that helps. You can put that in there.
Okay, anyone else in the audience wish to address this item? You want to come forward again? You have another question?
I do have one more thing I'd like to say.
All right,
Come on up.
please come forward. You have to come forward and state who you are again.
This is broadcast. You gotta be on.
Oh, the one question or the one thing I was gonna bring up was the utility line. And I believe I'm the one that brought that up when I first heard of something like this, okay? So they do have a pole in their property there. You see where the proposed building is? I suppose right about in the middle of that proposed building on the west side, right there, there's a pole. And it's got the transformers on it, and it's coming from a transmission line that runs along Kiwanis Avenue. Hits that pole and goes right straight east to my pole, okay, which they're putting a brand new one in right now. So I guess I would like to know, we talked about, I heard you ask them a little bit ago what they were gonna do with that pole. And I don't know if they're gonna be real happy about it, 'cause like I said, they're putting all brand new lines there, poles in and stuff now. But where would that be located, I guess is one of my questions. And does that mean I have to relocate my pole to accommodate the relocation of their pole? That's another concern I did have that I didn't bring up. So,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
I would
Madam Chair?
think that would be up to the electrical people, really, to make that assessment, not really the homeowners themselves. And that you'd have to take, or they really would have to take that up with them once they build the building, or if that should so happen. Any other comments, commissioners?
Madam Chair, I think that, as is often the case, that there's been a little bit lack of communication here, and that we're probably not going to break ground. We'd have to use dynamite right now. So I guess I think we should defer for a month and ask the applicant to meet the neighbors and maybe have some hot cocoa or coffee and talk about how it might look and make some assurances on the drainage, on the junk, and you know, whatever else could be done to make this project you know, not so scary. So I'll make a motion to defer for a month.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded on the county side to defer conditional use permit 90-10. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. County side.
Okay.
Motion to defer 1 month to match the county.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
I mean, I'll disagree with that a little bit. I don't think our job is to determine exactly where it should go, what it should look like, if it should be red. The conditional use permit is solely for the square footage. And is 7,500 square feet acceptable in that location or not? I think it is. I mean, I think we can approve it, and I don't see that as being an issue. But rather than vote against something, I guess defer it is.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign.
I appreciate those comments, Nick.
Thank you. Regular agenda, there's no old business, no new business. Need a motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes on the county side.
City side.
Motion adjourned. Or second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? We're adjourned.